Charles, thanks for making time today. Where are you doing deals? And tell me a little bit about your business before you started working on doing deals with real estate agents.
Um, we were probably doing, I would say, well, first of all, we just weren't doing a lot. I mean, we do 1 to 3 deals a quarter. We work this business extremely part time. I mean, 3 to 5 hours a week, maybe, if even that. And I would say Facebook, we've gotten deals that way. We're doing some cold calling with very little success. Cold calling in California is definitely an uphill battle with people just, answering phones. So that was really where we were at is, Facebook mostly and, cold calling.
Cool. And you said you do mostly this business part time, so you are like focused on trying to do more deals with less capital, less investment. So what was appealing to you about working with agents?
Yeah. So, I mean, that's something that we've actually been thinking about for a very long time. Just from a conceptual standpoint, my wife and I are always like, basically, I mean, realtors are out doing this every day, and they're bringing us deals. They can bring us deals that, they can basically do all the acquisitions. We basically have a bunch of acquisition managers working for us. And I think that happened when we did our first realtor off market deal, not through the program, just through a referral, friend of a friend.
Sure.
And it was just super easy. We were already, the seller was already motivated. There was they wanted speed and convenience and, no acquisition costs. And we ended up making, I think, 15 or 18 on it in like a 2-week period. So as soon as that happened, we were like, the concept we had in our head came to life. Like, oh my God, we've been thinking this, but how do we do it? How do we, make this, how do we scale this at a much higher level? And so when I saw heard you, I think it was Investor Fuse, and at the very end, you were saying you had a program. I think if you remember, I think I pinged you on Facebook like that night. Yep. I literally was like at the gym and I pinged you on Facebook. I was like, I need to get into this program. I was like, just from a conceptual standpoint, I'm like, this is no one else has a program like this where it's like just everything laid out. There's a lot of people that say, hey, reach out to realtors, but no like set process. We don't have a lot of man hours to figure it out. So for us, it was like, I have no problem paying to skip the learning curve just because I run a pretty big business separately and we have 4 kids. So for me, I was like, I'm in. I really don't know how you do it, but I'm in.
Yeah. And then so let's talk about once you were in the program. So obviously you did a couple of deals with agents. You knew that it worked before we even started talking, right? And so then you knew that there was this process. Yep. Yeah, so you already had your own experience, which is awesome, and I'm glad that it was almost like a no-brainer for you, right? You're like, this works.
Oh, for sure.
It was easy. You already made 15K on a deal before. Yeah,
it was free. I mean, if you know about deals in California specifically, they are not cheap. Your cost per lead is expensive, let alone getting a free deal. I mean, I wouldn't even say it was a cost per deal. I paid a commission to my buddy just for giving it to me. He didn't even ask for it. I paid him like $1,500, 10%.
That's awesome.
As a thank you, because he's a general contractor. So that has incentivized him to refer me a lot more people. And we're close friends. He's like, "What are you doing? Like, you don't need to give me any money." But
you're like, no.
We had proof. Exactly. We had proof of concept, and everything that we thought was, I think the fears that we had of working with realtors never really materialized. And I think that's probably a lot of people, even friends I've talked to, that are, I wouldn't say afraid of doing deals with realtors. It's, there's just fears of unknown or this and that. And that process was so smooth. I mean, I think it was actually maybe even easier than when we go direct to seller because there's so many people involved. There are other people involved that want it to go through as well. That there's a commission involved, right?
Right.
So the realtor wants the deal to go through, And I think in our head, we think the realtor is like a regulator. Opposite. They don't,
Right.
they really don't care. I mean, not to say they don't care. They just want you to close and get their money, right?
Right. Right.
Unlike a seller, they don't have an asset. Their only quote unquote asset is when there's a sale and there's a revenue, revenue event. So you actually have another person that's on your team trying to get the deal done on both sides, and
Sure.
they have an in with the seller. So it's just it's a truly win-win-win situation, and it's not just an ROI of income and not spending money, which is always amazing. It's an ROI on time, and for me
Mm.
specifically, that is more important because sometimes we do other deals now through texting, things like that. It's time consuming. You
Mm.
may have 6, 7, 10, 12, 15 touches, how many phone calls, how many visits, etc. Realtors basically bring you the deal on a silver platter.
Right.
Hey, they don't want to list it. House is a piece of what. It needs a lot of work. They want a cash offer. They need 30 days. Are you interested? And
Yep.
literally, I always say it's like having acquisition managers that work for you that you don't have to pay. Which
That's a
for
good
me, it's
analogy.
like infinite return, because I don't pay them, the seller pays them,
Right.
And they want the deal to go through as well.
That's awesome. I'm so glad to hear that you have not only such a good understanding of how that dynamic can be beneficial to you as an investor, but also to the seller and also to the agent because they're getting paid, but also from experience, right? Like you've done it a couple of times now, and you totally see the value that it can bring to you. So let's talk about what you have been able to do, utilizing the systems and the process through Agent Autopilot. So before you did uh, one or two deals with an agent, and then since you were in the program, I know that it took you a little bit of time to kind of decide to implement this in your business once you got started in the program because you had all of these other channels, right? And then you decided to commit to, what was it? You just decided like on one weekend, you just decided to go all in and implement the
It was a
processes and
process, it was just a lot. I think I thought it was going to be easier to implement than it was. But the good thing is that, I think you had told me this too. It's difficult to implement, which means that no one else is doing it,
right.
right? Which is it's exactly true. And it's funny because we're doing other marketing, Facebook ads, things like that, and no one else is doing it, and it's hard. So
Right.
that's why I'm like, oh, perfect. I love this space. If it's hard for me, I know other people are dropping off like flies, right?
Yeah.
So we're gonna keep down this path, and it's been good too. So,
Yeah.
and
I like
and
to say that
I'll put it.
it's simple, not easy, right?
Oh,
It's
for
like
sure.
it
The
makes
concept is extremely
sense.
simple.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but actually executing on it, and the reason that it's difficult is because of like the nuance of actually getting it going, and that's why no one else is doing
just
it.
not
That's
being tech
also
savvy.
right, and that's
Not,
also
and
why
I
it'll
wouldn't
work
even
for
say tech
you.
savvy. Yeah. Go
Go
ahead.
ahead.
Sorry.
It's okay.
No, I was saying not being. I wouldn't say tech savvy. That's too strong of a word. Like, perfect example. Like, I just never used Google Sheets, right?
Right.
Like, I just never used that before. I mean, I've used it and I usually convert it to Excel,
Sure.
and just getting comfortable with that and having stuff like that. So
Sure.
I think it was me was just making that commitment to learning it and doing it. I would do it like super late at night, so I'm like exhausted mentally and physically trying to do this tech stuff at nighttime. It was just,
Sure.
and that's on me. Once I started making time for it and doing it earlier, it wasn't nearly as bad. Just slowing down, but it takes
Sure.
time. It takes time to implement it. But once we did, I mean, it just, I think each step you do it, and once you start sending the first emails, you
Hmm.
start seeing the response that you get, and it's a wave,
Right.
right? Because you're seeing proof of concept, you're seeing people at least respond. Yeah, some
Hmm.
leads, stuff like that. But for me, I wasn't really worried about that. I just wanted to see the process
Hmm.
of going through it, right? And
Right.
seeing how people react to it. What was the next step process? You know what I mean? So
Sure. Sure.
um,
So what
it was definitely
talk
worth
to
it.
us talk to us a little bit about the how many deals did you do, and over how long of a time frame from doing agents and running the process?
Yeah, so we did, I would say, I mean, I think we signed up, definitely it was in Q1, January, February. I'll be honest, it took us months. It took me months to really like commit to doing it. And I think finally, maybe April, May, I started sending emails. And that's when we started kind of, the ball started rolling and it started getting me excited about it
Mm.
because I could see where it was going. Obviously,
Hmm.
we didn't have deals yet, but I had people reaching out to me, a lot of referrals, things like that. And I understand sales. I knew it's a snowball, and
Yep.
that's just my snowball catching a little bit of momentum, which
Yep.
I got excited about because my main business, that's I teach sales in my main business, and then I think once we got to, I think it was um, July or August is when we start getting deals, and I think it was in like a 60-day period. I would say a 90-day period. We end up doing I think eight or nine deals in like a 90-day period, basically
Awesome.
from like I want to say from August, end of July, August. We're closings. Um, we're August, September, October. Yeah.
Cool. So 9 deals, 3 months. Once you started to actually implement and execute the process. Um, that's awesome, man. That's a great ROI. So let's just talk
I mean, we
about.
cleared, and if you want to talk real ROI, I
Sure.
mean, we probably cleared almost 125 grand in 90 days from that.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yes,
That's
it
killer.
was. It is.
And all of those agents, were all. Do you recall if those were all separate agents, or were some of them the same agent
All
brought you
separate,
like a couple of? Okay, cool.
all
So that's
separate
also a
agents.
good
And
thing.
then but as
Was it?
soon as you do close, then they started hey, I got this other one. I'm thinking, and immediately once you do what you say you do, it's like everything in life. All of a sudden now, you're the go-to person.
Right.
We closed in the amount of days we said we were. We
Yep.
helped the mover. We helped with movers when we said we would. Like everything we said we would do, we did.
That's
Right,
awesome.
which was outside the scope to help the sellers.
Hmm.
And we got a lot of good video testimonials too from the
Awesome.
sellers. I think probably one of our best testimonials was a realtor brought us a deal, um, ugly probate, and we were just patient, helped them through it, and I even paid for their movers, as well.
That's awesome, man. That's super cool. And now you have 9 agents who can also keep bringing you more deals, right? Because that first deal that
Absolutely.
you do with them, that's gonna solidify in their mind who you are, and so then they'll now be like brand advocates for you,
Hmm.
and they'll be able to bring you multiple deals. If anything, one at minimum, probably like one deal a year, right? You would hope that they would do more than that, but you can kind of count on like at least one out of the 12 months, one deal coming through. So
Or
that's
even
huge,
their
man.
brokerage in their office. We get a lot of that where they're
Yep.
like, hey, my partner, has in my office and has a deal. I told him about you guys, blah blah. Would you be interested?
Yep.
Even though we're not direct to the listing agent, it's
Hmm.
we're getting an inside scoop on it.
Because
Which is
you
that's what we want.
right, because you treated that agent really well, and they found success by working with you, right? You were the problem solver.
Hmm.
And so if they know other agents or their brokers knows people in their office, they equate you with a success. So I mean, I've even had agents refer other agents to me that weren't even in their office, right? Like, hey,
Yep,
my
me too.
friend has a deal. Yeah, that's awesome, man.
Yep.
So that's awesome. So I'm just out of curiosity, at the beginning, you were mentioning a little bit about what some of the beliefs that some people might have. I'm curious if you had any beliefs about working with agents that you found uh, were kind of like erased while you were working with these agents, like, and you realized why it was good to work with them.
Yeah, I think especially if you're going to be wholesaling, right? That you can't assign a car form.
Mm.
That is 1000% false. Um, as long as, I think the main thing is just have a good, good escrow that's comfortable with
Mhm.
that,
Mhm.
and make sure you have certain verbiage in your contract. That was probably the biggest one. Um,
Were you upfront with the agents, or how did you navigate that process? Because I have my own ways that I know that work, but how did you do that?
so usually with my agent deals, I kind of reverse wholesale it.
Mhm.
Usually with agent deals, I have a small amount of buyers that I'm close with,
Mhm.
that I will, work with that way and send them the deal like, hey, this is, what numbers we're thinking about. This is because what the only way, if it's listed, if it's not listed, obviously it's better because then you can say, okay, we're getting it for this price, run your numbers, blah, blah, blah. But we've done
Right.
deals that were listed, but it's got to be a discount off of what it is. Plus,
Yep.
we've got to get some inside scoop on why they're willing to take less.
Mhm.
So I really reverse wholesale it, which is basically just, getting their buy-in on it, seeing the top 2 or 3 people that are really, really interested, go see it when I go see it. They go with me.
Yep.
And so then on top of that, when we assign it, it's not a big surprise because it's like, oh, my partner, I'm just making up a name, Jim, you know, oh, we're gonna close in my buddy Jim's, whatever. And like, oh, okay, cool. But even if it's not, even if they don't come, for me,
Right.
it just makes it easier because they already have numbers in mind,
Yep.
and we're just making sure that there's no big issues.
Yep.
So really, just we reverse wholesale it most of the time. Not always, but a lot of
Yep.
times we will.
And just making sure the agent understands that there's no changing of the process. There's no extension of escrow. Like literally, all that you're doing is changing the buying entity, to make sure that it closes through. But as long as the agent's aware of like the process, there nothing will go sideways. And like you said
And I think,
earlier, as long as you perform and do what you say you're going to do, it doesn't matter, right?
yeah, and that's the thing too is, I mean, most of the time we don't even tell them what's going on until the deal is almost done.
Mm.
You know,
Yeah, because they
and
almost
that's
don't
just
care.
that's they really don't. All it does is just muddies things for them, and I
Right.
just don't want any antennas or question marks going up. Like,
Right.
does that mean you're not going to close?
Right.
Right? Like, all I care about is, our very large EMD is already in,
Yep.
right? We're committed. Our inspection period's done. We're going to
Yep.
close on this day, and we're going to close my partner's entity. They
That's
really
it.
don't care.
They don't
As
care.
long as the money's there when when it's supposed to be.
Right.
Um, the transaction coordinator will sometimes ask for their email because you get disclosure stuff. But
Sure.
usually, I'll be honest, we do that like once it's closed,
Right.
and then my buyer will, email them the stuff, they fill it out. It's just to make sure
Yep.
that they get their commission. That's really
Right.
what it comes down to.
Yeah. I mean, you're basically just updating them of like what's going on instead of, I think like what most people think is like you have to ask them if it's okay to like change. It's like,
That's a good point.
yeah.
That's a very good, and I think that goes back to your original question. And respectfully, right? Agents
Hmm.
work for you.
Hmm.
We don't work for the agents. And I
That's
think
right.
I went into it with that thought process just because I have a lot of friends who are realtors. We've done
Sure.
wholesale deals, and I just understood that. We
Yeah.
actually had a couple deals where the agent wasn't comfortable giving the offer that we were going to give.
Mm.
And she's like, well, I've got a couple other people. I said, oh, well, I want to make the offer today.
Right.
So you can make it, or I can have another, agent
Right.
call you and make the offer. I
Right.
want you to get both sides of the commission because you brought it to me, but I want
Right.
my offer to be put in today. She
Presented.
can
Yeah.
decline it. She can
Sure.
decline it, say, go F
He
off,
won't. Yeah.
or
She doesn't
counter.
have to represent you.
Exactly. But I wanted her to because I wanted,
Right.
she brought me the deal,
Sure.
right? I want her to make as much as possible. And I
Right.
get it. She was trying to get as much as she can for her seller, but it wasn't selling,
Yeah. Right.
So I said, make it, see what happens. She says no, totally understand. She counters, we'll consider it, but let's at least go do it. And so I kind
Yeah.
of had to like give her an extra nudge to give it,
Right.
and then lo and behold, seller accepts it.
Good to go. Yeah. Yes, I think agents definitely have they obviously have a fiduciary responsibility as the listing agent to try to get the
Of
most that
course.
they can for their seller. And as also representing the buyer, it's a little bit of a, double-edged sword there that they got to try to navigate. But I think what you just said is really good, is like you having, it's really like the confidence and understanding that like what you're doing is the right thing to do. And you're kind of like helping them get buy-in for what you're saying is, it's legitimate, it's a fair offer and all these things. Um, and if they are technically representing you as a buyer, like if you've already, they've already been writing your offers, like they need to present that offer like legally, right? But also like you could have someone else represent it if they're not wanting to, and they can miss out on 2.5%, and that's up to them.
Totally up to her,
But
totally up to them. But it won't happen.
yeah,
But she just needed an
right,
extra nudge to get
yeah,
it, to give it.
yeah. But I think the general point is like while you're in escrow, you've already gone through the whole offer process. What's important is that when you're assigning a contract, the clauses are dialed in. It says and or signs, or any other terms, like it's somewhere in the contract. You're transparent. We may transfer this the buying entity to our financing partner, or however you want to structure it. And as long as you perform on your contracts, you put your money in, complete your contingencies on time, and then like you said, like right before you're closing, when the money is about to be funded in, all you're doing is transferring the entity, and is you're, again, like you said, you told them what was happening, and you're not asking them, because as soon as you start like, is this okay, like, did your seller have any problems with it, they really don't have anything to say about it, and they shouldn't be considered in terms of like, is that a thing? It's like you're just telling them how this is closing out, and then as soon as it goes down, like, they'll see that there was no reason to ask any questions about it. So I think that's a great point to make. That's a lot of the initial, I think, hesitation that people have of working with agents. So thanks for bringing that up.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, I mean, I'm thinking about it now. Like the deals we've done, I don't know how many times we've even said anything before it closed.
Right.
I mean,
because
and not that
they
we're
truly
being,
don't care.
they really don't care.
Yeah.
Of the 9, 8 or 9, we probably 3 or 4 times they called us and said, hey, and it was literally just to get their commission. Like, hey, thanks so much. My
Right.
transaction coordinator needs, the entity, who is that? So they can email them the disclosures, basically so they can get their commission.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
But the deal's closed. Everyone's happy. Sellers got their, now they're just making sure everything mopped up on the back end
Yep.
and can get their commission.
Yep.
And that's really it.
And I think you
so
brought up a good point.
we don't even bring it up. We don't even bring it up unless they ask.
Yeah.
And they usually don't.
I think you brought up a good point too, Charles, is that having a good escrow company and a good transaction coordinator, like they see these types of deals all the time. So that's why they don't ask any questions, because they just get it and they know exactly what to do. But if you work with some like completely, random or new company that hasn't worked with investors before, that might cause some pause. But again, that's like a totally different part of the business. Not like that has nothing to do with like the agents or doing deals with agents. It's more about, closing with an escrow and title company, and having a transaction coordinator on your end to help facilitate it all for it just to go smooth, and there shouldn't be any problems as long. And so that's actually one of the reasons why I like to help with people like you who already know what they're doing, because this is literally just like deal flow, right? And you know how to convert it. So that's cool. One thing you brought up to me actually on a call the other day that I wanted you just to briefly talk about, and you were saying like the sales process. When an agent reaches out to you that has a deal on the market, most people would look at that deal and that agent and say like, it's not worth my time. Like it's a waste of time to like call that agent back. They have a deal on the market. Like why would I want to talk to this agent? Can you talk to me a little bit about like why you find that that's a valuable relationship to work on, and like why would you take that phone call?
Oh, for sure. I mean, if an agent is calling me, I'm picking up the phone no matter what. I understand it's not about a deal, it's about being their go-to person, on a go forward. So if they pick up the phone and it's a bad deal, or if they are just reaching out to me, even if they just send me an email, there's a reason why, right? It's not selling, for every case may be, and just get on the phone. Hey, how can we help? Okay, what can we do on price? let me run my numbers. What do you think? But either way, I'm seeing how I can help them, and that goes a long way, because, if you've dealt with investors or just people in general that are in sales, it can be a very cutthroat environment. And people are just like, oh, no, it's not a good deal. Never mind. Right. And I think building that relationship, like I said, I've taught sales for a long time. Relationships is everything. And building that relationship and telling them why it's a bad deal or why it's not a good fit or what we can do, or giving them an offer, something to go back to their seller with to prove what maybe they've been telling their seller. It's just building that relationship. And I always tell them, like, I appreciate you even bringing it to me. They may say, hey, it's probably not a deal for you, Charles, but I just want to run it by you. It's like, yeah, let me just look at it real quick. Blah, blah, blah. Not a good deal for me because of X, Y, and Z. This is what we like. This is what we don't. And just that extra interaction builds rapport, so that the next one, we did that where, an agent brought us a deal. Her sister-in-law, it was basically like her sister, she said, was listing the property. It wasn't a great deal for us, right? And the numbers weren't amazing. I actually helped someone else get the deal. And but then within 3 days, she was like, yeah, another agent just called me because my retail buyer was going to make an offer, and they already took a property. They fell out of escrow, and now they're looking for a cash buyer. Because I went out to the property. It was backed up to a freeway. It was like horrible, right? I knew I probably couldn't sell that, but I wanted to build that rapport, and it came back to fruition within a week, which usually that's not what you're trying to do. But remember, realtors do this every day. So they're looking at deals and talking to each other on a daily basis. So it's literally like a super acquisition manager, that is is an advocate for you. So I think, thinking transactionally when you're going through this program is the exact opposite of how you should think about it, right? You got to think about it as building a relationship, being a go-to person, do what I say I'm going to do, because you just want to be the go-to person in like 500 people's head, right? Where it's like, when it does come up, which is maybe once a year, but if 500 people call me once a year, I'm doing a deal a day, right? And that's my thought process, is I want to be everyone's go-to person. Like, man, we've never done a deal, but Charles is just a nice guy. Him and his wife are super nice. They're super upfront. They tell you how it is, and they call me back. They email me back. They're always on top of it. They're extremely professional. I just like working with them, and that goes a long way, just building rapport.
I think that's a really key point that you just made about not looking at, building relationships as like wanting it to be transactional and like going out there with the intent of like getting a deal, because that's a very short-term, vision of like what you're trying to do. They'll pick up on that. And then you might just come off as just another like sleazy salesman, right? But if you're literally like, you're in this for the long game, which I know you are, and if you're looking to build a business that sustains, multiple years, you need to build relationships that have like an actual, fortified backbone, right? A foundation for them to think about you, like you said, like in 6 months from now when they actually have a deal, right? And that doesn't happen if you're like being greedy and you're just trying to get a deal from them, or you're only picking up the phone or responding to their email when they actually have something worth responding to, right? Because then you're just treating them like a number. So I love that you have that approach. That is, in my opinion, why this works for you and why you are doing so well for yourself. And so it's not surprising to me that you have a successful business, right? Because that's the approach that you have. You're trying to be the solution to these agents' problem, even when like what they have isn't the best fit for you. Like, you're still trying to help them out. Like, you might still, like you said, like refer them to someone else that like might actually be a better fit for it. So that's really cool, man. That's I'm glad that you have that outlook, and I'm confident that you're gonna benefit from that. It's like the law of karma, right? Like, you're gonna benefit from that for years to come. So that's awesome, man.
We do the same thing with sellers. I mean, it's the same thing. Every single seller, it's the first thing to tell them is like, we're here to help. Whether we buy it or not, we're gonna see how we can help. And we've actually gotten a lot of testimonials from people that we did not buy from, but they're like,
oh wow,
you really, I paid for a guy's appraisal out of my own pocket, because he didn't
Wow.
have one. It was his mom's inherited house. He's got a lot on his plate. I was like, look, dude, you just need a break. I'm gonna hook you up. It's my buddy. He'll give me a good deal, and you get a copy of it. And he was
That's
just blown
awesome.
away. And he ended up giving us a great testimonial that we were able to, add to our website. And even
Sure,
though we
sure,
didn't
sure.
buy it, we
And
didn't
that's
we
not
didn't
why
buy.
you
I
that's not
helped
why you
him
did
get
it.
in a better offer. Yeah, yeah, of course. Yeah, I
Yeah,
mean, we don't like just throwing away money, but
sure.
I just wanted to help him out. We had gotten close. We had gotten cool over a couple months. So
That's awesome, man. Well, that's a testament to the type of person you are, man. So thanks for being
thanks, sir.
awesome. I appreciate
Absolutely.
you making some time today and just talking about how you found success, and hopefully this helps other people who are trying to follow in your footsteps and build a business like you. Obviously not in your market area, but um,
Preferably not, but there's
yeah.
plenty of money to be made, but preferably not.
That's right. But yeah, no, I really appreciate you coming on and sharing. I know you have a lot of other things going on, so just sharing the success that you found, it means a lot. So thanks for making some time, man.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, the program is just, there's nothing like it. I'm kind of selfish because anybody in my market, I don't tell them about it. I just tell them I'm getting deals through realtors, just because it's like my secret sauce. I
Yeah,
do have a couple buddies that are not in my market that I'm like, dude, you guys got to do this program. I'm
yeah,
only telling you because you're not in my market. It
right.
is the secret sauce, and it's
That's awesome.
ridiculous. Um, but in my market, nope. I just tell them, yeah,
Yep,
I network. I just network a lot. And I'm
yep,
like, man, that's awesome. I need to do more networking. I was like, yeah, you probably should, man.
yeah. And
But
they're
I mean,
like,
the
they're like,
program is just, it's got everything set up for it. And for me, not having a lot of time and working this business, 3 to 5 hours a week, I don't have time for trial and error.
mm,
So, paying for a program where it's like literally step by step of every single part of the acquisition process is set up for you was like gold to me once we got it up and running, right?
yep,
But for me, it was like, oh my God, I feel like you should charge more for this program, right? Because it's like, if you really want to do this, there's nothing else out there. It's
yep,
literally, I mean, trust me, I have looked, and there's literally no other program like this where it's time, a ridiculous return on investment of money, it's infinite return because there's no money, right? And then return on investment of time, which for me is a very close second
mm,
to getting deals, because I'm just limited with running another business, 4 kids, involved dad and husband, and not trying to infringe on that. It's just it's infinite return in my opinion.
that's awesome, man. I'm super grateful to hear that. That's the reason why I put this together, is to help people like you, and really to shortcut like the 6 years of learning curve that it took me to figure out like how to say the
Absolutely,
right things, how to set up all the systems. So awesome to hear that. Definitely, willing to keep helping you in any way that I can. So want to get this working so you can kind of keep consistently getting that 3 deals per month going. So
yep,
let's keep hustling and keep getting more deals closed.
absolutely, for sure,
Awesome,
man.
brother. Well, thanks for your time.
Appreciate
I'm gonna let you go, and I know you probably have a bunch of people calling you right now. So
it. Yeah,
have
absolutely,
have
man.
a,
Appreciate it.
have a good rest of your day, brother, and we'll talk soon. Okay.
All right, buddy. Talk soon.
All right. See you.
All right, bye.